Okay. You lose all inhibition. So this may be your last lecture. There's the female reproductive system. So the gonads are the ovaries. That's what does gonad mean? Gonad means
Second, first sex organ.
where your gametes are formed, right? What is a gamete?
The sex cell.
The sex cell, the sperm and the egg cell. And the other organs here are accessory organs. You notice that females have a uterus. Males do not have a uterus. When you open up the female reproductive system in the cat, you will be surprised to see how small the uterus is. It's the same with females. It's small. It's the shape is they say it's as big as a typical pear, but it can expand when we have a baby. That's what you mean by plasticity. How the smooth muscle can expand, can stretch. Remember when we were talking about the muscular system in Bio 240, it can stretch to accommodate a big baby. Maybe you were big, or maybe you delivered a big baby. Just think, from a small pear, it can expand. And so when you look at the uterus in the cat, you'll be like, wow, it's even smaller than the urinary bladder. And cats are even, don't cats sometimes give birth to how many kids? Seven, eight, nine, maybe one or two. Okay, so here is the anatomy of the female reproductive system. Okay, I want to use this other picture over. So look at, there's your uterus right there. It's on top of your bladder. That's why when you have a baby, the bladder, the expansion of the bladder gets compromised, and you experience what we call urinary frequency. It gets filled very quickly, and this expands to get when you have a baby. The one thing I want you to know about the bladder, first of all, okay, the ovary. This is the ovary. There's the fallopian tube, or the uterine tube. There's the uterus, and then there's the vagina. The uterus, the most inferior part of the uterus, is called the cervix. So the cervix is the opening to the uterus. Okay. So this is made up of smooth muscle. This one is skeletal muscle. Okay. Now, pay attention to the ovary. You know that ectopic pregnancy, have you heard of the term ectopic pregnancy? Meaning pregnancy outside of the uterus. The ovary, all pictures will show the ovary to be almost, we think it's closed like that. But in fact, there is a space. There's a space between the fallopian tube and the ovary, so that there is an opening. So when you ovulate, every time we ovulate, you're actually ovulating into the pelvic cavity. And if you notice, the fallopian tube has what you call fimbriae, or finger-like extensions. So what the fimbriae do, every month we ovulate, it just creates waves or currents that attracts or directs the egg into the fallopian tube. So what did we say about males? What's the most common problem with them? Is inguinal hernia. Do you have an inguinal canal? Yes, except that our inguinal canal is closed. It's not actually pierced open, but with males, it's open because the vas deferens, the testes, had to descend outside of the pelvic cavity, and that's where it has to pass through the inguinal canal. With females, look at this, okay? There is an opening. If you notice, pelvic inflammatory disease is a disease that is unique to females only. We say most common among females, pelvic inflammatory disease. And the reason is, and I will ask you in the test, what is the anatomical explanation for ectopic pregnancy or pelvic inflammatory disease? You're going to write, because it's open. There is a space. It's not a closed system. There's a space between the ovary and the fallopian tube. And then the ovary is where the egg is located. So you have to release the egg. So you see, the egg has to travel from the pelvic cavity into the fallopian tube. Now look at this picture. So to remind your patients of, I have a very good friend and her mother died from pelvic inflammatory disease because of a tampon that was forgotten in there. You see, those tampons, what they do, they go all the way up, and she came in for fever, and they forgot to do a pelvic exam. There was a tampon that you can die from pelvic inflammatory disease because you know that there's always germs here, bacteria here. And by the way, when we're ovulating, you know that the cervix, there's cervical glands there, and the glands secrete a mucus plug. Among females, you know that, and the plug is whitish, and you see it's very dense when we're not ovulating. But when we're ovulating, that mucus plug becomes thin because then it becomes more open, more friendly in case there's sperm that wants to enter. So when you're ovulating, in other words, this opening is not plugged. It's open, you see, even the plug is just a mucus plug. Bacteria can easily enter. And so people who use a tampon, even if you change it regularly, but you change it maybe what? Every 2 days or whatever. Change it more often because that tampon attracts bacteria. And look, this is where the tampon usually is inserted. Look at, bacteria can just get attracted and they gain access. They go up and they can enter because anatomically it's open. There's a space there. And that's why we always have to worry about that. So if I asked you in the test, you can explain why pelvic inflammatory disease is more common among females than and not among males. And then for males, it's inguinal hernia. So you just be careful, especially if you have children. They're just beginning their period. You explain to them the importance of really, if they're going to use the tampon, it's to me it's better to use. I always advise to use the sanitary napkins, the pads, than the tampon because it's just that tampon. The pad is outside. The tampon is going inside. And so to me it's more dangerous. But it's all personal preference. I'm sure the guys don't care about what I'm talking about now. But it's just be careful. You just be aware. You tell them it's open. So when they start complaining of some pain over there, always think what's going on. And then start having a fever. Always, okay? Always be aware, especially for us who have daughters. Okay, now even though they're separated, there's ligaments that make sure, see, it's suspended. You will see this when you open up the female reproductive system. You may wonder if this ovary is really separate, it's just a, a follicle, a ball like this. What prevents it from floating around? There's ligaments. See? There's ligaments or connective tissue, just like your mesentery. So it's the same thing here. That makes sure all these organs don't go, floating around in your abdominal cavity, and that the ovary is not far from the fallopian tube. Because when you ovulate, you want to ovulate into here. This is where fertilization happens usually, right here, in the isthmus of your fallopian tube. You fertilize the egg here. So by the time the baby gets settled here, it's no longer one cell. Usually by day 6, you don't even know you missed your period yet. You don't even know you're pregnant, but the baby is already implanted. Here is where you fertilize. Here is where the baby is implanted by day 6. So by day 14, when you're expecting your period, right? Every 14 days. 14 days you ovulate, the next 14 days you expect your period. That next 14 days, you're expecting your period. The baby is already planted and hidden in here. We'll look at it in a minute. Okay? So, but first, let's look at this ovary. We're going to cut this, transverse cut, and here is how our ovary looks like. I'm going to use this other slide. See? Did you notice it's different from the testes of the male, right? With the males, they have lots and lots of, it's called germinal epithelium. You see all of those cells surrounding, remember? I'll show you the testes. See? Lots of cells. It's packed with cells right here. See, it's packed with cells. But if you look at the ovary is the equivalent of the testes. Look at it. It's not that many. It's made up of what you call follicles. These are all follicles. A follicle is an egg. It contains one egg or oocyte surrounded by cells that protect it. So, because it looks like a follicle, you call them follicles. So, the ovary is an organ that contains follicles. What is a follicle? It's one egg surrounded by cells. The cells that protect it are called follicular cells. You understand? So, the one very important difference between male gametes and female gametes, this one, all of our egg cells, when we're born, all of them are arrested at prophase 1 of meiosis 1. All of them have begun meiosis the moment we are born. So I'm going to go look at this part right here. Right here. Look at this one. See? Fetal period. Meiosis in progress. So, at birth, this is what we're born. When we're born, our egg, all of our eggs in that follicle, all of them are arrested in prophase 1 of meiosis 1. Remember, meiosis is 2 steps, meiosis 1, then meiosis 2. Do you remember that? Everybody, right? So all of them have started. It's like start, stop. They say we have about, when we're born, we have about 4 million eggs. But by the time we reach puberty, see? Puberty, all the way to menopause each month. By the time we reach puberty, most of our eggs have undergone atresia. Do you remember what that word means? Atresia means natural death of your sex cells. Remember, apoptosis is natural death of cells. But for your sex cells, you use the word atresia. So when you see this word, it means nothing but apoptosis of your sex cells. So yes, we're born with those millions of eggs, but by the time we hit puberty, most of them have undergone atresia. They say when we start menstruating, we're down to about 1,000 eggs. But do you need 1,000 babies? No, you don't, right? Or maybe in our lifetime, like I only have one child. Maybe some have what? 20, 19, that's the TV series, 19 and counting. But usually you just have one. Okay, this is what happens. I'm going to go back to the picture of the ovary. So, when we're born, all of our eggs are in prophase 1, meiosis 1. Let's review. So 23 plus the copy. The other 23 and the copy. So this is prophase 1 of meiosis 1. And then beginning puberty, this will proceed. See, it will divide the first meiosis so that you're producing your 2 eggs. 23 plus that copy, and the other one will contain that one. Remember the term diploid and haploid, right? So after meiosis 1, you produce 2 eggs, haploid eggs. One will contain 1 set of chromosomes plus the copy of that one, and the other one will contain the other set, the one that you inherit, one from your mom and one from your dad. And then, so this is how it looks like. During puberty, each month, one of these will proceed. Okay? What happens in females, how many eggs do you need to be fertilized? How many eggs do you need to form a baby? Just one. Very good. If you look at this picture right here, look at what happened after meiosis. Meiosis 1 completed by one primary oocyte each month. Look at what happens. Do you notice there's a difference in size, right? One is big and the other one is not. So in reality, what happens is this one will become big and the other one is not, because one will have to sacrifice. So most of the cytoplasmic contents is just being sacrificed so that you will ovulate one healthy egg. This one does not even have to proceed. Do you understand? That's why this is called a polar body. So in reality, this one does not proceed anymore with meiosis 2. But all books on A and P will always show you these 4 cells. Thank you very much. Oh, no, no. No. Okay. Yes. Wait, I have a...
Usually it's inside and it's not.
Okay, so do you have any questions so far? Remember, we have meiosis. This is what we're going to we haven't even ovulated yet. So each month we're going to coordinate this or correlate this with our hormones. But we haven't even ovulated yet. Remember day 14 is when we ovulate. So we start with day 1. Do you follow? With males, it's hard to understand. But with females, remember day 1 we menstruate, right? And then day 14 is when we ovulate the egg. So between day 1 and day 14, as we clear out, we menstruate the old egg. In the meantime, the ovary is promoting one to mature again. Are the guys able to follow? No. Okay, one. So here is there's the female, okay? So we have the uterus right here, there's the ovary, okay? So, when the female has the menstrual period, when we're menstruating, think of that as day 1. The day that we menstruate, that is day 1. What are we menstruating? The old uterus, the old lining there, we're menstruating that one, okay? We're actually menstruating the old egg that was not fertilized. So that's being menstruated. In the meantime, while you're menstruating, on the day that you're menstruating, there are events going on in your ovary at the same time. What is that event that's going on in the ovary? One egg is being awakened from its sleeping beauty, hibernation, right? One egg is being awakened and it's proceeding with meiosis. Remember, it was sleeping. It was arrested at prophase 1 of meiosis 1. Are you following so far? So, as I am menstruating, day 1, the first day I have my period, there's changes going on in the ovary. One egg there is waking up and is now proceeding with meiosis. Okay? But there's meiosis 1, meiosis 2. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, right? And so, look at what's going on. See? I'm menstruating, I'm proceeding with meiosis 1, and I produce 2 cells. Right? Do you follow this one so far? Remember, meiosis produces 4 cells, but it's a 2-step cell division, right? So meiosis 1 produces 2 cells. This is the main difference between male and female. With females, we only need to ovulate 1 egg. So that look at the end of meiosis, one becomes big and the other one is small. The cytoplasmic contents are being sacrificed. So you have one healthy egg to ovulate. So this one is called polar body. When is this going on? While I'm menstruating. Okay? So this is day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. By the time you hit day 14, that meiosis has finished up like this. Meiosis 1, then meiosis 2, right? Meiosis 2, you produce 4. So we proceed with this one. So this is this one right here. And this will proceed with meiosis 2. You're producing, oh, you will eventually produce these 4 cells over here. You follow? Okay? So this is already how it looks like when we ovulate. This is this one. See? You will ovulate, but by the time you ovulate that egg, the egg didn't even finish the meiosis. The egg that we are ovulating, this is a wrong picture. The egg that we are ovulating is actually this one. The egg that we are ovulating is arrested at metaphase 2 of meiosis 2. Do you follow? It's confusing again. Look at this one, okay? So by the time, let's go back. So I'm menstruating. As I am menstruating my ovary, one egg is proceeding. You get that part, right? So menstruate, day 1, the first day I have my period. I think there's something going on with my ovary already. One egg is proceeding. And this is going on. And then by day 14, so prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1, then you have these 2 eggs. Okay? Then by the time I go day 14, but I reach day 14, I'm going to ovulate. By day 14, this second egg is going to go through prophase 2, metaphase 2, right? That's the second set of cell division. Okay? This is the first set, and then it has to divide the second set of cell division. This one I ovulate is actually arrested at metaphase 2, where these two, would they meet in the center, right? They will meet in the center. They first meet in the center like this before they separate, right? And the only time that this egg will proceed with the next step, which is anaphase and then telophase, the only time that that will happen is if there is a sperm. So if there is no sperm, it won't even proceed. So that, and this picture, like I said, this picture always shows these 4 cells. But in reality, only 1 cell is going to be healthy and produced during female meiosis, sex cell division. That is the main difference. Because males need all of those sperm cells to be produced, they're the ones deployed. They really have a difficult job. Females are very spoiled, they're just sitting pretty, right? The males have to work. One more time. Every month, I menstruate. So day 1 of menstruation is the day that I have the bleeding. During that very first day, 1 ovary is already proceeding. Okay? Because what's going on with menstruation is you're getting rid of like when you have visitors come over, right? You want to change the bed sheets. You don't want your visitors to sleep on old bed sheets. That's the same thing with our uterus. We have to get rid of the old bed sheet. Prepare a new bed sheet in case a baby comes. You see? So, I menstruate. At the same time, my ovary is proceeding. First, it has to proceed because it was sleeping, right? 1 egg will proceed. See? This is all going on while I'm menstruating. Then, my menstruation lasts about 5, 6, 7 days, right? So, By 6, 7 days, it's already this one, it's proceeded with meiosis 2. And then, by day 14, I ovulate, right? I'm ovulating this egg. This egg that I ovulated is at metaphase 2 of meiosis 2. So there's my mommy, the mommy genes and the copy of the mommy genes, right? Then, if there is a sperm, that's the only time the meiosis 2 completely ends. Go to anaphase, telophase, and one will have the sperm right there. So this is the 23 chromosomes from the mom, 23 chromosomes from the dad. You form the new baby. And what happens to these three? It undergoes atresia. So this is what happens when we ovulate. Then after, so ovulate, then you wait another 14 days, right? But within that 14 days, what happened to your uterus? You just menstruated, you have a clean bed sheet there, you see? So in case you get pregnant, you have clean bed sheets. So now the baby will be happy. The uterus is smelling nice and clean. You didn't just Febreze, you really changed all the bed sheets. You understand, everybody?
So the 46 chromosomes, it doesn't become the father and the mother until that.
Until this one. Yes, let's go back. So this is the original follicle, right? And then when we are born, all our eggs have already started. So this is how all our eggs look like. It's arrested at this one. Then when we hit puberty, each egg, only one egg because the rest will have their turn. Each egg will proceed. So when we hit puberty all the way to menopause, each month will proceed. Meiosis 1 first, we need to produce 2 cells containing one set plus the copy, the other one plus the copy. For females, by the way, it's always 22x, right? 22x, 22x. It's the males that will have the Y, right? Okay, and then this one, when we ovulate, so this will proceed with another set. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. This one does not even have to proceed. But this one, metaphase, so when they meet in the center, that's the right time for the sperm to come. So when the sperm comes and fertilizes, and this one separates, there's the sperm. Oh, let's do the black one. There's the sperm, the 23 from the sperm. And this one completely separates. This one will move to the other side. This is now the metaphase. And then anaphase, telophase. So you see, you now have the new baby. So all of these will only have 23. This now will have the 46 because there's the male. You see that? You got that, everybody? What do you think? You think? There's another slide that correlates everything. Just always think. The events are always related. What's going on with the uterus and what's going on with the ovary. The uterus is just board and lodging for the baby. So think, you want to always change your bed sheets. Changing the bed sheets is menstruation. And as you menstruate, there's already something going on with the ovary. Has to be perfect timing.
Can you imagine that, like, you're running a hotel and you're changing the bed sheets and you're taking a call for somebody to come in 14 days?
Oh yeah, the check-in time is what? 4 o'clock p.m. because 4 o'clock the house and the room is now clean. Yes,
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So menstruation has to be like fully completed before the egg connects.
That's very good. Before the egg connects with that, yes, very good. That's very good. Because you have to, by the time, you want to make sure that the uterus, menstruation takes about 5 days. It takes another few days, 5 to 6 days, to rebuild the uterus. So menstruation has to be completed, that's a very good statement, before this one actually happens. You want to make sure that the uterus is completely Rid of the old bed sheets. Make sure that the house is clean before you check in. That's very good. Now you understand. I'm sure the girls no problem. The guys are the ones that will have a little bit of a problem. Okay? So that's why, and now let's investigate the ovary further. I want to look at this ovary again. Before we look at the hormone control, remember when we were looking at the male reproductive system, the testes responds to FSH and LH. Remember that, right? That was our last topic last Wednesday. Remember during puberty, when we hit puberty, the brain secretes, the pituitary secretes FSH and LH, and then the target in males is just one. It's only the testes. The three cells there. The FSH will target your the sperm cells and your sustentacular cells, and the LH will target your interstitial cells of Leydig. For females, we're going to talk about it, but right now I want you to look at, for females, the brain right here, the brain will secrete the same hormones, FSH and LH. And the target of these two hormones is the ovary only. Okay? The ovary, the job of the ovary then is to control the uterus. See, that's why when we were talking about the the oogenesis in the egg, remember what I just drew here? I said day one, we menstruate. At the same time, the ovary, there's a change going on in the ovary. Why are they so correlated, very perfect timing with each other? Because this one controls the uterus. The brain controls the ovary controls the uterus. Because the ovary secretes the female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Just like the testes secretes testosterone. In females, the ovary secretes estrogen and progesterone. And these two hormones, the target is this one, your uterus. That's why perfect timing always. The events here are regulated by this one. Do you understand? Makes sense? Everybody? Okay? So let's look at the ovary further. We know what is going on with that little egg. The egg is right there. That tiny dot is the egg. Okay? That's the egg. We just look at what's going on with that little egg. The meiosis, it proceeds, etc., etc. Now let's look at the cells that surround it. You call that the follicular cells. Those follicular cells have a job. It's actually, for one thing, it's obvious they protect the egg. But it's actually these follicle cells that make those two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Okay? So again, there's my brain, and here's my uterus. So brain secretes FSH and LH, and the target of these two is this one, the ovary. Okay? So what will the FSH follicle stimulate. So you stimulate one follicle. That's what it does, right? It stimulates one follicle to perceive, because it was sleeping, right? Sleeping Beauty. They were asleep at prophase 1, metaphase 1. So it stimulates one follicle, wakes it up, finish up on your meiosis. And then when it's ready to be ovulated, when it proceeded at metaphase 2 of meiosis 2, you can ovulate that. So LH is your ovulation hormone. That's why you ovulate. So what happens is this one goes up first, and then this is the one that proceeds with meiosis. When this egg, that one egg that was stimulated, reaches metaphase 2 of meiosis, so you're ready to ovulate that egg. So this one goes up, so you can ovulate. Remember, I told you right from the beginning, think of your body as made up of different minions. They talk to each other. So now, once you ovulate, this is just waiting, right, to be fertilized. Now look at this one right here, this follicle cells. The cells right here, the job of the follicle cells, these yellow structures, they're the ones that secrete your estrogen and progesterone. They're the ones. So don't forget, it's just always one follicle each month. The others will have their turn. Only the one follicle each month, that one follicle, those cells there, the follicle cells, it's their turn to make estrogen, progesterone. So what is the job? Which of the two goes up first? Estrogen first. This is proceeding to mature, the estrogen goes up because the estrogen promotes menstruation. So this is the first one to go up, and it's telling your uterus to menstruate. And if you look at this picture, so that as you proceed and you have ovulated this one, you've already menstruated. Once you ovulate, progesterone then goes up. P for pregnancy. Progesterone is your pregnancy hormone. So what happens is the progesterone will now encourage development of a new uterine lining. The lining is called the endometrium, right? Endometriosis. So you have a new bed in your uterus, fresh. By the way, what is the content? The main content of the endometrium is glycogen. What is glycogen?
Sugar.
Yes, isn't it sugar, right? It's carbs. This cell is a baby already. Once it gets fertilized, that's the baby, and it needs to eat. Sugar is our main source of energy. So each time we menstruate a bloody collection of glycogen-rich secretion. That's how the glycogen reaches the uterus, through the blood. So you see, do you agree? As long as progesterone level is high, you will keep this nice bed for the new baby to come out. I mean, to be implanted here. There's the new baby. There's a new baby. There's the new baby over there. Okay, this is my uterus. So, what is the key to keeping this nice juicy bed? Progesterone. As long as progesterone is high, you will not menstruate. Pregnancy is referred to as a long period of amenorrhea or no menstruation. Amenorrhea. A means no menstruation. It's just a long period of no menstruation. Why are you not menstruating? Because my progesterone is high. P for progesterone. P for pregnancy. So, are you following so far, everybody? Okay? So, look at this one. Now, the baby is here, and I want to look at the follicle that released the egg. This is the follicle that released it. You notice this follicle will now be empty. It's empty. It will never be refilled. That's it. It lost the egg. It's gone. So what do you call this? This will now be called, first it starts being hemorrhagic, corpus hemorrhagicum, but then eventually it's called corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. A yellowish corpus luteum. Yellowish layer of follicle cells that has been emptied of the egg. This corpus luteum is still active. Remember, it's the follicle cells that secrete those two hormones, right? So even after it released the egg, it's still active, this corpus luteum. It's still actively producing progesterone. It has to keep producing progesterone, because once progesterone goes down, you menstruate. So, as long as progesterone is up, which means as long as this corpus luteum is active, progesterone is high, you will not menstruate. The key, okay, number one, if there was no fertilization that happened, right, this corpus luteum after 2 weeks, it becomes scar tissue. It will be called corpus albicans. It becomes whitish, corpus albicans. If after 2 weeks there was no fertilization, this corpus luteum becomes just scar tissue, corpus albicans. And this albicans, it doesn't produce any hormones anymore. So what happens? The progesterone goes down because it's no longer active. So if the progesterone goes down, at the same time, another cell is proceeding again. Remember, it's a cycle. You menstruate. Very good. So just like me, you can tell just by looking at the ovary which one is young and which one is healthy. Oh, I'll show you slides. A young ovary has lots of nice, you see, follicle with a cell inside. An old ovary like mine will have lots of this one, scar. You can tell at the corpus albicans, corpus luteum from a nice follicle. Do you understand? One more time. I see one egg every month we proceed, right? So why did this proceed? Because my FSH-LH went up, being released by my brain. So first to go up is FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. And what is this doing? It's telling one follicle to proceed. With what? Meiosis. Okay? Then, when it got to the point, metaphase 2, meiosis 2, the LH goes up. Then you ovulate that. Okay. At the same time, these follicle cells are also waking up. They're secreting these two hormones. So as this one is proceeding right here, this is the first one to go up, estrogen. And what's this doing? Menstruate your old lining. So once you ovulate right here, this is the next one to go up. Once you menstruate, which is after about 7 days, the next one to go up is progesterone. You are now replacing glycogen-rich secretion right here. So that in case this gets fertilized, you have a nice bed right here. There's a problem whether we get pregnant or not. This corpus luteum can only maintain high levels of progesterone for no more than 2 weeks if you don't get fertilized, or no more than 4 weeks. Some books say up to 6 weeks. But usually 2 weeks. So after that, this is the normal event. Look at this corpus luteum. You cannot prevent this from becoming eventually scar. And when it becomes corpus albicans, it's done. It cannot maintain high levels of progesterone. And remember, if the progesterone drops, you will miscarry. You will start menstruating. Here is the beauty of pregnancy. Okay? Now, you remember the baby is right here by day 7, the baby implanted in the baby is now in the mother's uterus. What's going on is that little baby starts secreting a hormone called HCG. If you've ever been pregnant or if you're trying to get pregnant, the pregnancy test actually tests for HCG, beta HCG. And this one, if this appears in your urine, you're pregnant. Why? Because you don't make it, the baby makes it. So we're going to do replay. Like my husband says, stop already, but I'll replay for you. One more time. FSH is the first one to go up, right? Signal 1 follicle to mature. What do we mean by mature? Proceed with their meiosis. When it gets to the metaphase 2, meiosis 2, then you ovulate. But what tells you to ovulate is this one. Go up, LH goes up, then you ovulate. But while it's maturing, estrogen, this one, the follicle cells are secreting high levels of estrogen first, for the first 5 or 6 weeks. What is this? Menstruate. Then slowly progesterone goes up. What's progesterone? Prepare. You now prepare a new bed in case you get pregnant. So you have a new lining again, rich in glycogen. So that once you ovulate, if this gets fertilized, you are ready. What maintains this nice bed? So this uterus, remember, is being controlled by your ovary. So this follicle cells, this is the one that maintains high progesterone. So you have a nice bed for the baby. Okay? But this one cannot stay like that forever. After about 2, 3, 4 weeks, really, it becomes corpus albicans already scarred. But it's okay. Because once the baby is secured, the baby now starts producing what? Beta HCG, which is what? Your pregnancy hormone. Why are you pregnant when you have this in your urine? Because the baby made it. You didn't make this. What is the function of beta HCG? The function of this one is to tell this corpus luteum to remain as corpus luteum and keep producing progesterone. Okay? See how the baby becomes the boss right from the beginning. Then, so pregnancy, the key to successful pregnancy is high progesterone level. Look at this one. By the time we hit 9 months, usually 9 months is the duration of pregnancy, do you know the baby is again the boss? The baby starts secreting cortisol, which is what? Isn't it your stress hormone? Then it goes to the mother becomes stressed. The mother responds by secreting oxytocin, and you start going through childbirth. The progesterone goes down. Then childbirth is nothing, they say childbirth is a modified form of menstruation. Right? You start going through your period, except it's not blood that's coming out, it's the baby. Do you? Yes?
So is it stress that causes like premature?
Yes, it can. Very good. You see? Doesn't it make sense? Right? Now you understand. Now let's look at this uterus. There's your uterus. See? The uterus is made up of 3 layers. The endometrium, there's the inner lining, the endometrium, and of course the middle is muscle myometrium, and then perimetrium, which is connective tissue. So it is this endometrium that is regulated. If you look at, you see it's very vascular. This is a nice picture, see? Very vascular, because the glycogen has to be delivered there. In fact, the glycogen here in the uterus is referred to as uterine milk. Once the baby is born, it has to start feeding. So this is its milk, but once the baby is born, it's called breast milk. Here, it's uterine milk. It's glucose to support the growth of the baby.
So the babies are like little vampires?
Yes, aren't they? And the baby will actually be completely embedded inside here, the uterus. So the babies will start secreting HCG to tell the ovary to keep producing that progesterone, right? It's locked in there. And then it starts producing or increase cell differentiation to form what you call the placenta, where there's also a contribution from the mouth, which we're going to study next. Okay? Do you have any questions so far? I like this picture over here. This one. Either this one, no, not this one. This one. This one is so nice. I like this because this is already showing you there's the brain, there's the ovary, then there's the uterus. Okay, don't forget this one. The brain controls the ovary is the one that controls the uterus. That's why some people who undergo hysterectomy, they're afraid they'll be menopause. No, it's the ovary that secretes the estrogen, progesterone. Okay, one thing I want you to remember. What is the source? Where do we get our estrogen, progesterone? What is the parent molecule of that one? I always tell you guys, even testosterone is from, what did you say? Very good. From cholesterol. Don't forget that, right? This is why, if you notice, a lot of females, once they hit menopause, they will start having cholesterol problems. Why? While we're menstruating every month, we're using the cholesterol to make our estrogen, progesterone. But once we have no more eggs, we're done ovulating, no more menstruation, do you still make estrogen, progesterone? No more. This is when you start having a lot of extra cholesterol. You're not using it anymore every month. So that's why you tell your patients, start watching your cholesterol. Females, when they hit menopause, they start having cholesterol problems. They don't have as much need for it anymore as they used to. You now are going to take estrogen pills, right? What do you call menopause pills? What do you call the pills for menopause? The estrogen, you're taking now synthetic hormones to avoid those hot flashes and all that stuff because you're done. So when you're done ovulating, you watch for what? You watch for cholesterol. Because cholesterol is the source of your estrogen, progesterone. So I like this slide. When you look at, even here, it's showing you which hormones go up first. See, FSH goes up first. And look at, what is this? You look at this one and you trace it to what's going on in the follicle. And then after that, the LH goes up. Oh, I ovulated. Then what's going on here? This ovary is secreting estrogen. Estrogen going up first. Look at what's going on. I'm menstruating. Then progesterone next to prepare a new bed. New fresh bed in case you ovulate. And look at this one. See? The layer of follicle cells, they're the ones that really secrete the estrogen, progesterone. But after 2 weeks, if there was no fertilization, this becomes scar, corpus albicans. So it's no longer secreting this estrogen, progesterone. You notice this one is only secreted by then the arrow. This one, no arrow. So you will menstruate. You eventually menstruate. But if you have a baby, the baby will take over. The baby will make sure that this one doesn't become like that. The baby secretes HCG and it dictates. See, it's the boss. The baby is spoiled the moment the baby is born. You have, yes.
Would a missed miscarriage be higher levels of the BHCG that the baby had previously secreted with the body? A missed miscarriage, meaning baby dies but you don't have a miscarriage?
The baby died, but you didn't have a miscarriage.
Until, like, let's say 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, is it because of the high levels of BHCG?
The HCG, yeah.
Okay.
The HCG is high, but eventually
When it runs out.
you will miscarry. So this one is another slide. If you don't like that one slide, you maybe can use this one. I like it. See, it's just I forgot now where I got this. Did I get this from Pertora? I think Pertora again. Okay, but it's showing you. Remember, the brain controls the ovary. Males don't have a uterus. We have a uterus. The brain does not control the uterus. This is the ovary that controls the uterus. But even if you don't have a uterus, that doesn't compromise the function of the ovary. The ovary is under dictation from the brain. And that's it for this chapter. We go to the last chapter, break. Then we go to the last chapter, which is about 10, 20 minutes. Then we go